All right, so hi everyone, my name is Lauren Dixon. I work with the Central Arkansas Library System as a small business programmer. This series is a part of a monthly series that I release where I interview a business owner and let them talk about their experiences with starting their business, what are the ups and downs, and just generally offer advice to future business owners. Today here I've got Angie Cella of Blinger. So Angie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Angie. Nice to meet you guys, everybody.
So Angie, now that we've got you here today, can you tell us a little bit more about Blinger and how you got started?
Yes. So Blinger this is the device that it is today. But Blinger came to me in a dream in 2014, and I remembered the dream, literally a dream when I was sleeping. And I woke up the next morning. I loved the idea. I loved what happened and in my dream. And basically, every time I squeezed together this flat iron that I was borrowing for some reason, it put crystals in my hair, sparkly crystals. And so the next morning I got up and I woke up my daughter and I stuck some rhinestones in her hair and I told her to go play, and thinking they would all fall out, and they didn't. And of course, now fast forwarding, we use this, I always like to say this, we use a safe hair glue that's specific for hair. Don't put rhinestones. Not all of them have good glue on them. These thankfully weren't bad. And so I loved the idea, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do this. And I started working on it. And then I had a second dream about 6 weeks later, and kind of a side, it's part of my story. Obviously, it's an entrepreneur's faith-based story, but we don't need to go into that tonight. But it was with God, and he said, I want you to make this product, which I thought was really weird, why I would have a dream with God, and why he would care so much about this product. But I was like, okay, he's making it clear for me. And I started off, that kicked off a 4-year journey that was actually very hard. And I went through several engineering firms. In fact, I went through 5 engineering firms before I got to a working prototype. And do you want me to share my whole story right now, or did you have another question, Nora? Because
I was actually about to ask you, with the manufacturing process, you obviously had a concept, but can you go get a little bit more into how you started that manufacturing process?
Yes. So my 5th engineer in the 4th year of working on this, he had a connection in China for manufacturing the product. And I learned a lot about manufacturing over the years, because it is a plastic device. This is the device now, and I'll just show you how it works. One of the engineers on my journey said, well, here, let me just show you this real quick. So here's the disc, and it's got the crystals on it. These are Swarovski crystals, actually. The toy version doesn't come with Swarovski crystals. They're too expensive for little kids to be playing with. No. And you just squeeze it, and then it puts the crystals in your hair. And that's pretty much the whole.
That looks really nice. It's quick.
Yeah, it's real quick. When I have them in my hair, they're like, ooh, you got diamonds in your hair. and then when you're done, you just brush them out. So that's basically what took, like I said, a long time to get to. One of the engineers, the 3rd engineer that I hired, and each engineer is anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a pop. And
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. So the first and like a quarter of the 2nd engineer used up all my savings, and then I took out a loan, and that pretty much all went to my 2nd engineer. And then I got another loan, and that got me through the 3rd and 4th engineer. And so I like to point out that, most people see failure as that's it. That's a sign that you're not supposed to do it, or it's not going to work out. And my big aim with my book and my story is that failure is a gift. Failure is teaching, we think it's telling us that we've got it wrong, but really it's just like a course correction on how to get it right. And not everybody, you know, they can have an engineering degree, but they don't have the vision necessarily, or things that seem simple can actually be complicated to design. And that was the case with mine. That's what I kept trying to say. The third engineer said to me was, it seems like we get a lot, he said, we get a lot of jobs that seem complicated, and we figured them out, we engineer them very quickly. And then we get jobs like yours that seem simple. And it's actually, it was complicated to do. And, you know, when you see it now, you're like, oh, it's a stapler, like a stapler mechanism almost. It doesn't, the mechanism inside here is not actually like a stapler mechanism, but it's, you know, it seems simple now when you see it, but the glue, the stones, and the pressure, and all the nuances, how do you load it? Like, for example, loading it was a big thing for me, because I was like, I want it to be simple to load. And, you know, with this, you just put it in there, but there were others where there were strips and they had to advance them through, and there were all these different complications that the engineers had to figure out. Once I had a working prototype, I contacted that manufacturer in China and started working with them. And I have to say, working with China and maybe especially as a woman, was incredible. I loved it. And there were so many, you know, there's a lot of reasons why manufacturing, I don't want to say is failing in America, but isn't progressing. And a lot of people are like, oh, made in America, you want that? Yeah, you do want that. That would be amazing if you could make the product in America. And there are some products that you can make in America, and they are, they should be rightfully made in America, because we have, like, textile, for example, you know, anything with clothing that could for sure be made in America, depending on your price points. But a plastic product like mine, if I tried to make that in America, it would be, that would be, you know, close to $150 it would have to retail for, versus 20.
Right.
Because of all the costs, labor costs. And so, you know, I think manufacturing in China for me ended up being a very pleasant experience. And you know, I can go through like a lot of, I know I had this impression, or that when you manufacture a product there, everything's automated, but in fact, it's very labor intensive. Like there are people putting manually by hand, putting, you know, probably 15 people by hand. This is going down a conveyor belt, putting this together. So in America, the labor is just a lot less expensive in China. So because it's not automated, you know, that's a big cost if you were trying to manufacture in America. So, but I mean, I'm not knocking America, love America. Just saying, if you're probably going to have to manufacture overseas if you're doing a plastic product.
And you mentioned that you knew of the manufacturing company for a friend, for potential people who want to make products. If they don't have those connections, how do you recommend them going about getting connections with manufacturing companies overseas?
Yeah, well, I would try to start with your network and see if anyone has a connection first. And I would avoid an agent. I would avoid any middleman. You can find a manufacturer. You could go onto Alibaba and put up an RFP, a request for proposal, and you'll get a lot of offers to make your product. And then just be very careful going through each one. They'll all sign NDAs. So if you know, that's one way you could find a manufacturer. That's how I found recently something that I just made was through Alibaba.
Oh, I saw one of your recent products was the like nail thing.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't. Yeah, that actually just went under the Blinger trademark, but that actually isn't a product I developed myself. But I should take credit for it, but I didn't do it. No. But that was actually manufactured by the toy company.
Mhm.
They developed that whole product and put it out under the trademark, the Blinger trademark.
That makes sense. So can you tell us a little bit more about your story now that you've gotten the manufacturing process set up?
Yeah, well, so that's basically the big part of the story. So I had the working prototype, and I went to my kids and I said, they've been on this journey with me. I'm a single mom, I have 4 kids. And I said, what if, there were no more loans to get, and I think I still had a final payment to make to my engineer. I'm sorry, I do have 4 kids and they left the freezer open. I need to close this.
You're completely fine.
Sorry, we kept beeping. So I got them all in the kitchen and I said, what I had left was, I was in massive debt. I had no more savings, but I did have my house, and I had gotten it in a foreclosure arrangement. So there was already equity in it. And so I went to my kids and I said, what if we sell the house and I'll just build the tool myself in China for Blinger?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all looking at me like, what is she asking us? Blank stares. And then my oldest said, you got to do it, Mom. And that's all I needed to hear. I was really just focused on making it happen. And you don't have to sell your house to be successful in a business. But for me, I tried to get investors for 4 years. And I think what I really like to say you do have to do is you have to have the mindset that whatever you need to do to finish the job, be willing to do it. You won't necessarily have to do it, but be willing to do it. And so we sold the house. We sold half our belongings as well. And the 5 of us moved I rented a townhome, and I started building the tool in China. They're 12 hours ahead. So I'd get the kids down and then work with China at night over Skype. And it was great. It was a very simple process. They're eager. They want to please. They want to make it right. They want to please people. And so we built the tool over the summer. And meanwhile, I hired one lady to work with me, Kimmy, and then a friend of mine, she and I went out I booked a booth at the Dallas Toy Fair. And that's a great event if anyone has a toy idea. The Dallas Toy Fair is every October in Dallas, Texas. And the day before the show, though, there is a Women in Toys event. And you can take your idea, your toy product, your prototype, anything to that event, and you can pitch toy companies who might license the product from you, or you can even pitch Walmart. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to pitch Walmart my product. And I signed up for that. And I also signed up to pitch 2 toy companies before my Walmart pitch, not because I wanted to license it, but because I wanted to practice before I met with Walmart. And I had my product shipped from China to my hotel room in Dallas because it was that close to when my first run was going to arrive to the States. So we air shipped it from China to my hotel room, and it arrived 2 days before that Women in Toys event. And I went there and we did the first 2 pitches and got offers on both those pitches, which was really exciting because up until that moment, no one had been excited about the product besides me. It was like, there were little, like every now and then, but it was most people just didn't get it. They didn't see what the big deal was. And that's fine. But when those 2 toy companies were interested, that was amazing. And then I pitched Walmart. And that's what's great about the Women in Toys event. I had a 15-minute curtained off room where I could share with Walmart buyers, toy buyers, about my product. So that's just a wonderful opportunity for anyone that has an idea for a toy product. That it's just and you don't have to be a woman. Just hire a woman and she can go do the pitch. You don't have to be a woman-owned company. I don't think. It's really just for women in toys in general. So I went to, after that, sorry, people are walking. So after that, we went to the end of that show. A lady came up to me and asked me to bling her hair. And I did. And then these women started gathering around. And then I was like, do you want your hair blinged? And I started blinging their hair. And by the end of that night, Blinger had become the talk of the show. By the end of that Women in Toys night, even the actual show hadn't even started really. And so when I walked into the World Trade Center the next day, people were running up to me saying, where was my booth? It was crazy. It was really neat. It was an amazing experience. And I had built the tool. When you build your own tool and manufacture product, that's basically what that would be called self-producing. So I was going to be the manufacturer, the toy manufacturer for Blinger. But after that show and just the response, which was amazing and positive, but it was kind of like that commercial. I don't know if you remember, where the sales are coming in and then all of a sudden the sales are coming in and it's like, it's a good problem, but it's a kind of a problem. There's like it was too much for me and my team of two, me and my other employee, and my, just to really fulfill a huge Walmart or Target order at that point. And so I ended up licensing the product to a toy company, one of the toy companies that had made me an offer earlier that day, or on that first day. And they were amazing. Ended up going to New York Toy Fair in February with them. And what they did with Blinger within a few months between October and February was incredible. It was eye-opening, actually. And by that summer, they had built, I think, 12 tools to handle demand. I couldn't even afford the one. I had to sell my house to afford the one tool. So it was like a good decision to have licensed it. And they ended up selling 50 million retail in 2019. So yeah,
a big number.
That's a big number. That changed our lives. And we decided, the kids and I decided we'd build a house. We built a house. And so now we're back in a house as of this year. COVID slowed that process down a little bit, but it's just been an amazing journey. And, there was a lot that I learned on the journey, a lot of failure, a lot of times where it would have been very easy to quit. And so I thought, I need to write the book because, it's got a good ending. So I wrote Blinger, and my goal with Blinger, the book, is really to help people, find, their, any dream, any idea. That it could be writing a book, or it could be, a product idea like I had, like, hopefully giving them some direction, but also encouragement to keep going,
right,
and to not quit. Yeah.
Going back just a little bit, you mentioned that you did 3 different proposals. How do you recommend people that are planning on doing any type of item proposal? How do you recommend they go about getting the materials together? Is there a certain way that proposals work better than others?
Are you talking about for getting quotes back? Or no, for pitching companies or pitching Walmart, which?
Yeah, just pitching companies in general. How do you recommend people that have an idea or have the product like you have? How do you recommend they go about telling people what their product is about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you should work on that. I mean, a good presentation. I mean, there were some tips actually on the Women in Toys side. I think they wanted us to keep the presentation to 3 minutes. And so, that's tough because we have a lot to say, especially when you're passionate about your product, which you will be, or you are, just your goal when you're pitching Walmart and really anyone is feedback. You want to know, 9 times out of 10, your first few pitches are going to go flat. They're not going to go anywhere. And, you know, that's part of it. You need to know that. Go in there ready, confident, but know that you're probably not going to get whatever you're after, whether it's with an investor you're pitching or you're going after, you know, like I said, getting on a store shelf, that you're most likely going to have a first pitch and then a second pitch and a third pitch. And that could all be in the same year and they're still going to say no. And you're going to go back the next, what I encourage people to do is go back the next year, take the feedback, get the feedback, and go back stronger the next year. You know, keep showing up, I think is a great advice for anyone that's looking to get a deal with someone. Just take the feedback. Don't be arrogant about your product. There's going to be feedback that you can't change, or you really don't want to change. But if it's because you don't want to change it, you should think about that a lot, because most of the time, and you know, be careful who you're listening to. But if Walmart is telling you, we like this, but we don't like this, and that's the thing you love so much about it, you need to be willing to take that in and rethink things, not be so prideful and stuck, because you know, you can be prideful, but you're not going to get Walmart probably, you know. So I don't know, what's your aim? Remember your aim. And you know, and it may be that you don't care if you get Walmart. Your aim is, you know, you do, let's say it had some kind of charity part to it, and Walmart would probably love that, but I'm just saying, like, let's say it did and you didn't want to take that out. Well, that's different. You know, if that's your vision and your dream, or how can you have that happen and still get Walmart? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
How could maybe that happen on the back end? It has nothing to do with Walmart. So those are the things that I recommend to people, is to just be a little humble, and you're not too humble, be confident, but just be willing to not think you've got it all figured out, and be open to advice.
Actually, I think that's great advice. A lot of the times, some people that have ideas are very stuck in their ways. And I think if, you know, you really just want to stay with the product and ignore all feedback, the results of that decision may not be what you're after.
Right. That's right. That's right. You have to, you know, a lot of things that I found ended up becoming more of a relationship too. Like, what was the relationship that was built from these initial contacts, you know? And I had some opportunities open up for me with the book because of a good relationship with people that had come before the book had even been written. So, you know, you're going to be working with a lot of people, hopefully, and meeting a lot of people. So having good relationship skills and being okay with, you know, being not too rigid and stuck, highly recommend, because there are some very smart people that could make or break something for your dream. So don't be in the way of that. Let those things happen, and by being open and willing to, you know, change courses if you need to.
So based on that, would you say that networking is a very big part of trying to get products like these into stores, or licensed by other companies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, just even that Women in Toys event, you know, that's one event specific to toys, and there's thousands of events that could be introducing you to the right people. So absolutely be open to networking, meeting people, finding, you know, it could even be there's let's say there's a show that's good for your product and you can't afford the booth to get a booth there, but maybe you could afford a ticket to the show and go to some of the networking events around the show and meet people. And that could be priceless. Some of the people you meet there, and just sharing at a cocktail party, you know, what you're trying to do and what your goal is. And they might say, oh, you know, I know someone who could help you with that. And then, you know, those connections can be priceless sometimes and really beneficial. So yeah, and if you're not a people person because you're the inventor, tinkerer type person, then get someone that, you know, you already have a connection with, you already have a relationship with, and ask them to help you. I have friends right now that all barged in a second ago that are helping me tonight with something else. I'm not even paying them. They're showing up to help me with something, you know. So your friends will help you if you're like, I need some help like networking because that's not my space. You know, I'm the IT person, or I'm the engineer guy. You know, some engineers are, you know, but some are kind of shy. You know, they're not going to be able to network very well. They need someone like me to be with them, or, you know, you're very sociable too. So just someone that can help them to, you know, do the talking, if you will. So yeah, relationships, you know, a lot of things come down to having good relationships. Yeah.
And then I actually have a question in the chat if you're okay with going ahead and answering one.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody had asked, they're thinking about starting their own product, but they're nervous about taking that leap to get a loan. Do you have any advice for them?
You know, I think I say this in the book. People don't regret the things they did in life. At the end of your life, we're not going to regret the things we did. We're probably going to really regret the things we didn't do. When, you know, what ifs, those what ifs. So, you know, I don't want to put anybody in debt, and, you know, I don't know what the idea is, but it honestly doesn't matter. Everybody thought my idea was stupid. So, you know, I'm the type, I say go for it. You know, just another thing I talk about in the book is what's the worst that's going to happen, and figure out what is the worst case scenario if you take that loan and you try to do this idea. You know, you may even, it will, so if the worst case scenario is, you know, unless it's, you know, you're not surviving, like you die, well, you know, that's pretty bad. But if the worst case scenario is, well, I'm going to have a loan to pay off, and, you know, well, can you afford to do that if that's the worst case scenario and nothing comes of it? Because probably what you're really going to need at the end of the day is a lot more than the loan you're thinking about getting right now. So figure out what's the first most important thing you need in order to help to get your idea more money, because you're going to need a loan and probably then another loan or an investor or to make sales. So how do you make sales? So you kind of got to dumb it all the way back down to, what do I need to make money with this idea? Figure out what that is and what's the simplest way to get there. And for me, I felt like I needed a prototype. I needed just a working prototype that was less than 10 plastic parts. I figured that out, and then it still took a long time to get there, but I knew what I needed. And even today, and it was true, because once people saw how quickly it worked and how simple it was to work, that's when I would see their eye, like they would get it. But when I would describe it to them, it was like, you know, right over their head. So yeah, I would say get the loan and go, but, you know, figure out what your risk tolerance is. I have a very high risk tolerance, which is kind of scary for people. I mean, most people would not have sold their house. And really, my dad has told me, he's like, Angie, most people wouldn't have kept going after the first failure. And the rest of them would have been out after the second. No one was going after the third. And definitely no one was going after the fourth. So, you know, if you believe in something, do not give up on your idea. You really, you know, a part of my story is, you know, my faith and my obedience to God. But putting that aside for this call, you know, don't quit on your dream just because the world doesn't see it or no one else sees it. If you really have a vision for something, it's important that you see it through to the end. And it may be that your vision isn't going to take you where you thought it was going to take you, but it's probably going to take you to an even better place. So I say go for it. That was a long answer to say yes. Take the loan.
Actually, the same person chatted in again to ask, if they do go for the loan to get their product manufactured, how do you decide how much of a loan you need, and what factors do you factor in, like your lifestyle, things like rent, you have 4 children, do you factor in their expenses to the loan?
No, I would keep, so you're gonna, I'm assuming you're gonna keep your day job and do this, you're gonna don't give up your day job. I never quit working my other job while I was doing Blinger. That was still happening. Now it's not forever. There's going to be busier times and less busy times. So when I'm trying to find an engineer, I'm busy. The next engineer, I'm busy. And there are things then I can fill in while I'm waiting on the engineer to get back to me. Same with manufacturing. If you get the loan, I don't know, again, I don't know what the product is. I wouldn't recommend getting a loan to manufacture. I would recommend getting a loan to get to prototype. Prototyping is very important. I don't know what the product is, but you're probably going to need several prototypes tested, and then the next step is manufacturing. So I would see the first loan as getting that prototype, a solid prototype, because you don't want to work out the problems when you're already in tooling and manufacturing overseas. However, if you're past that point and you're prototype and you're ready to manufacture, manufacturing has gone up, because I'm just now manufacturing another product. And it's like twice what the tooling is twice what it was. It may be the factory I'm with right now, but the manufacturing is one cost, but then you also have the cost of producing the product on, if it's a plastic product, on the tooling. So I wouldn't work in all, I would keep your day job, and I would take the loan to focus almost exclusively on the business, if you can. If you're, I don't know, I think children's costs, rent, all that should come out of your main job. And not, you should definitely try to keep everything separate.
Right. And then I actually had a question between trying to balance working full time and trying to pursue Blinger. How did you keep yourself from getting burnt out and just not wanting to do anything anymore? And make 4 kids, also 4 kids.
I know, right? Yeah, that's a great question. You are going to be imbalanced. You're not going to be balanced. So that's one thing. A lot of it's right here. If you're like, gosh, I'm out of balance. Gosh, I'm out of balance. Gosh, I'm out of balance. Gosh, this is. And you keep repeating that to yourself, you are going to get burnt out. But if you can have the mindset, I'm going to be out of balance, and that's okay. It's just for a season of my life. It's not the rest of my life. Then I can handle the imbalance longer. I can stay not burn out. The other thing, so a lot of mind tricks are helpful. I would say 90% of the success of any business is going to be what you're telling yourself, how you're working through things in your head. 90%. I don't think I'm exaggerating with 90%. Because it is going to be hard. You're going to fail. You're going to be out of balance. You're going to have, the kids are, eating chocolate for dinner, and you just got to think, well, it's protein, you got to find a way to keep the mind, keep the big picture in mind, know that it's a little messy right now, and that's okay. You're going to be tired because you were up all night working on a proposal or preparing for a meeting or talking to China. So it's kind of just the mindset, but also, as my kids have gotten older, I'm like, okay, you guys need to help. It's a lot of family talks about, hey, I can't be the only one doing the laundry and the dishes and keeping the house over our head, So getting the kids involved, they like that. Even if they act like they don't, I know they do. I tell myself they do. See, that's my mindset. there was something else I wanted to tell you about mindset. You said, I can't remember. I'll think of it, but it's something else about how do you do it. And, I think it's, you're not going to get as much sleep, but just know that it's not forever. And if your goal that you're trying to accomplish is bigger, it has to be bigger than just about money.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just about money, I feel like it's much easier to walk away from that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I know for me, if it ever was about money, and I'm sure it was many different times, those can be great draws, or, oh yeah, that would be amazing, right? But what kept me in the game was the accomplishment of finishing it, of seeing something that I dreamt about actually coming to life and coming to fruition. That was hugely motivating and driving for me. Rarely was it, oh, I can make a lot of money, and I think it was, don't get me wrong, money, we need money. Money's like oxygen, you need it to survive. You got to pay rent, you got to eat, you got to have heat in the winter. So it's not that, it's just that make it about something bigger than money. Give it a big meaning for you, and really dream about, okay, what is the big dream? If this came to fruition as you imagine, what would your life look like? Right. So, and I guess that could still be tied to money in a way, but yeah.
And can you tell me about how your life and your family's life has changed since the success of Blinger?
Oh, I'm still a mom.
Right.
I'm still a single mom. Well, I'll tell you a really cool thing. Recently, a friend of mine that I go to church with, he's a single father, 3 little kids, and his refrigerator broke, and he wasn't sure how much it was going to cost to repair it. And I was able to buy him a refrigerator.
Oh.
And that was really fulfilling, to be able to do that and to not worry and to do something nice for someone else. And he was really mad that I did that, but okay, that's another story. But, being not, I will say, financially, it changed us. I think it was really great though, for me as a mom doing this, and for my children to have seen how hard it was even. And that thankfully it turned out, that they really, I think it gave them an idea of, I think that was great for my kids to see, wow, like real things can happen just from an idea, that real changes can occur in your life just from pursuing a dream. So I like that for my kids.
And would you say that having the support of your children, because you mentioned that you kind of sat them all down and you were just like, yeah, you think about selling the house, what were their reactions, and did their support help you carry on throughout this journey?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And even if it wasn't support that they were happy to give, it helped. So just, there were many times when we were doing an engineering, we were looking at one of the mini prototypes that we went through, and, my little, 10-year-old would be holding the camera while my 12-year-old was sitting next to me, letting me do their hair on the, so we could send it back to the engineer, all the problems with the product, and just, their support was priceless. And having, I think also when things are, this is what I wanted to tell you about keeping going. And this totally connects to this question too. At the end of the day, we have to remember what really matters. Like, okay, so this might fail. It might totally fail, like failure where you can't get back from it. But what is in your life right now that you're so proud of, that you're so grateful for? And so having them on those tough days for me it was like, okay, this might not be working, but this is great. And this is really working. And so in that other question you asked before about how did I, a lot of times for me, this is how I did it. You can do it however you want. I gave it back to God. I said, it was your dream that you gave me. So you can have it back. And I literally would say those words. And I'm going to go over here, and I would play with my kids, or I would just be a mom and do mom stuff and not think about it. And I did that a few times. I like to make sure I tell people you can only do that though. You can only do that so many times for so long, give yourself, for me, because I kept hitting roadblocks over years worth of time, I'd give myself a week sometimes where I'm going to look at the emails, I'm just taking a break from it and just mentally get back to, and then I would naturally get back into, okay, let's get this going again. And things will come to you when you stop stressing about it all. So my kids kept me grounded. They gave me a base that kept me feeling like, okay, I can do this next thing, because they're really, at the end of the day, a lot of why I'm doing everything I'm doing is for them. So, yeah.
And then the same person that I'd asked the previous two questions had just asked, did you ever have moments where you just sat down and were thinking like, wow, am I crazy for wanting to pursue this? Those moments of self-doubt?
Oh my gosh, all the time. You have to read the book. I'm telling you, you'll be like, oh, good, I'm not alone. If that's how you're feeling, yes, absolutely, you're going to feel that way. And that's normal. And you just, again, it goes back to a mindset. A lot of people made some comments to me even, or people were like, oh, what is she, you'd hear things and or they'd mistype you could tell they were putting it down in a way, and like this thing I was doing on the side, and you just again, go into mindset. You just got to be like, what matters more, what this person thinks of what I'm doing, or what I think, and in my case, or what God thinks, or is this person over here going to put food on my kid's table? Mm-hmm. Is this person over here going to pay my mortgage? They're not. So yeah, do we all kind of care what someone might think of us? Of course, I get that, but you can't have a real influence over what you're doing. Nothing that powerful. And you are going to look crazy and you're going to feel crazy. That's okay. You're in a good club.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that advice. The person in the chat that was asking said thank you. So that's all the questions that I have. Angie, do you have any more of your story that you'd like to share that you can think of?
No, I I think just keep going and, get your mind right. It's going to be tough, but that's okay. It's not forever. And, try to be willing to look at, how is this going to impact your life from for me what is the purpose, your purpose with this? And, what do you hope to really see come out of it? Like having a big dream of your goal is something I'd recommend too. But no, that's it.
I'll leave the chat open just for, let's say, like a minute, just to see if any more questions roll in.
Okay.
But then after that, I feel very inspired. I don't even have any ideas for products, but it was inspiring listening to you talk. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome, Lauren. Absolutely. It is an honor to be here with you. And I'm sorry it didn't work out last time, but I'm glad we figured that out.
Right. Yeah, no worries at all. It absolutely happens. I'm just super glad, like you as well, that we were able to do it this time.
Yes.
Just chatting with you over like Zoom and stuff the past few times we were trying to get this up. I was like, oh, I'm so excited to hear like her experiences. Because I mentioned this during the initial Zoom, but oftentimes business owners only want to talk about their successes, but not necessarily the failures in the process that took them to get to where they're at. And I think it can be discouraging for a potential product owners or business owners who, if the only stories you hear are people that were successful right from the start, it can be discouraging to the bump.
Yeah, no, and I feel that's false. That's a false thing. I can't imagine someone just being successful out of the gate. I just don't believe it. I would say that most truly successful people have had a lot of failures, a lot of letdowns, a lot of doubt, a lot of discouragement, a lot of opportunity to quit. And you do get into a different league when you stay the course and you don't quit. You will put yourself in a different, almost range of people. Like, people come up to me and start talking to me, I can tell where they're at, and I know where they need to get to. And this is such a great thing. I'm glad we kept talking. Doing something out of your comfort zone and not quitting when it's hard will grow you as a person. And if for no other reason, that personal growth will be priceless. So I highly recommend it.
That's such a good way to word that. I've never heard anybody else say it that way.
Yeah.
I think that's inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, it'll happen. It'll naturally grow you as a person and teach you things that you won't learn otherwise. It's experience.
Here, I actually did want to ask, if people in the audience are interested, where could you purchase your book at?
Oh, okay. Well, it's on Amazon. And so is Blinger, the product. It's on Amazon. So that's kind of neat. They're there together on the Blinger page. And I believe it's online at Walmart too. It's not in the stores, but it's online. And I think it's in the stores at Barnes and Noble though.
Oh,
which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Right? I know. I actually got a very nice letter from a lady that found my book at Barnes and Noble. Oh. She picked it up and started reading it, and I don't want to share everything she shared. I don't know, it's kind of personal problem maybe, but she was immediately had to get it, and she finished the whole book in one day.
Oh,
she said she'd never done that before. I was like, oh, so it was pretty cool to get that feedback. So
but that was super nice. So I think this is the conclusion. We don't have any more questions in the chat. So Angie, thank you so much once again for taking time out of your day to do this program with us. We had a lot of great audience interaction.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time once again. I hope you have a good day.
You too. Thank you, Lauren. Bye. See you.
Bye, everyone.